Kayak gets my flight, hotel, and rental car right, so I can tune out travel advice that's just plain wrong.
Bro, SkyCoin. Way better than points.
Never fly during a Scorpio full moon.
Just tell the manager you'll sue. Instant room upgrade.
Stop taking bad travel advice. Start comparing hundreds of sites with Kayak and get your trip right.
Bad advice? You talking to me?
Kayak. Got that right.
Where is Daredevil? I'm right here.
Don't miss the return of Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again.
So what's next?
I feel liberated. We're gonna take this city back. Over medicated.
In an all-new season, now streaming only on Disney+.
They're hunting us. It's time we started hunting them.
I can work with that.
This should be tons of fun.
Marvel Television's Daredevil Born Again, now streaming only on Disney+.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I'm going to talk about why trying to optimize your sex life doesn't work. And a lot of you come into my practice after you have tried to optimize your sex life and it hasn't worked. And some of you try to reach out to me and then get into the first session and say you'd like help with trying to optimize your sex life. And I don't try to optimize anybody's sex life because that is business speak and you are not trying to create a business. And we will talk more about the limitations of the optimization framework as soon as I tell you to subscribe. My most recent subscriber episode was Stop Scrolling, You Are Wasting Your Life. And honestly, a lot of you optimization dudes are really going to like that one. So you should definitely subscribe because 25% of my podcasts are subscriber only and you're missing out on all of them. And I know you hate to miss out if you're an optimizer. Okay. So anywho, a lot of guys who try to optimize everything are very successful doing so, and their life actually gets measurably better. Sometimes it's insanely measurably, like with, that guy who's trying to be younger and he takes all his blood work every 5 seconds and he figures out, his blood sugar and all his shit and whatever. So sometimes you can measure, that your cholesterol is down or how fast you run is up and what you could bench is up and your stress is down and your sleep is up and your this is down, like all this, right? And so, yeah, okay, I could get on board with some of that unless you're making everybody insane around you and refusing to participate and not eat a cookie that your wife bakes because, God forbid, your macros. But overall, I see you're trying to optimize your own shit. All right, fine, more power to you. Then you try to optimize in your business, and here's where you could really make an impact, right? Because you could optimize the shit out of your business. You could make everything work perfectly. And then you could hire somebody to deal with people if you're not the best with that, and then you're really good to go. And it's really kind of like a logic puzzle or Tetris, and you're trying to just really produce the most and use the least resources or whatever you're trying to do, and it's great. You're doing awesome. Then it comes time to your relationship itself, right? And so you could try to optimize that. You could make yourself some reminders for when to ask her to go on a date and, and planning vacations and being nice and remembering my conversation starters and my date night questions. And that won't be terrible. It's at least endearing. And with the kids, right? You could try to optimize your time with them. So you're going to have some things that are sports and some things that are board games and some things where you're learning. And you can try, right? You can try to be the best person you can be. Now, why does that fall short with the sex life? Well, I'll tell you why. Because if you are the optimization dude that is listening to this, you have a very biologically different system than your wife does. You are testosterone driven. You are the preoccupied attachment partner. If you're the person listening to this, you are really going at a really breakneck speed compared to what she can do. Sexually, intellectually, not that she's stupid, but she just isn't. You're the one who has to listen to my podcast when you can out-talk your spouse. Because you can out-talk your spouse. You're going at 1,000,000 miles a minute in every which way. And what you think is, wouldn't it be better for us if we had a wonderful exploratory sex life in which we were constantly doing novel things and really pushing the limits in the bedroom? That sounds horrifying. That sounds terrifying for many women. That sounds like the opposite of what a good sex life would be. A good sex life, first of all, let's just like really be real, because if you're into biology and evolution and everything, then you're into facts. Let's talk about facts. People were never meant to have sex with the same person forever. And they certainly were not meant to have sex with the same person past menopause forever. They weren't even meant to have sex past menopause. So let's be real. If you're looking at biology, then, there's no real reason why your wife wants to continue to try to have experimental sex with you for decades and decades of her life. That doesn't make any sense. You aren't a new partner. You know the Coolidge effect. I've talked to you about the honeymoon stage. She's not making babies anymore. She knows you forever. There's a lot of water under the bridge. You're the same person. She's the same person. If you were honest with yourself, if she started to do the shit you wanted in bed, like with every other thing in your life, then the hedonic treadmill would kick in. You would be bored with that, because I see this happen all the time. If the woman loves you, she's learning about responsive desire. She figures, all right, I'll try a little HRT, whatever the formula is that makes her have sex like once a week or more than that. It doesn't do anything for the guy, even if he was in a sexless marriage before, as long as he's still in this constant optimization worldview. Nothing she does truly does move the needle, really. The same as with your workout routine, the same as with your bank account, the same as at work. You get bored. And until you admit that you get bored and that you always are trying to do better, then you won't understand why she does not want to use whatever sex toy you bought, because truly she doesn't want to. It does absolutely nothing for her. She don't give a shit. And she knows pretty correctly that once that becomes part of the retinue of things that y'all do, then it's just going to be some other bullshit that comes down the pike. So then she's going to have to do the sex toy. She's going to have to do the next sex toy. She's going to have to do the next sex toy, and then the next person, and, whatever else the case may be. And you are always, from your perspective, growing and learning, and you feel she's stagnant, but there's something in between, which is getting into a nice routine that both people kind of like. So that is not optimization. That's like, you would think the opposite of optimization. That would be as though your company never grew, or you bench press the same amount forever. You don't want to do that. You're the kind that wants to optimize. And to her, that makes her feel like a homework assignment, like you're trying to hack her. You're trying to improve her. You don't love her because you're viewing her the same as you view business or working out or anything else. So you say then probably, then how do I get to a place where she's even willing to try anything new? I'll tell you, by stopping the optimization talk, by enjoying what you enjoy, by allowing yourself to be present in the sex life that you're having. Because a lot of the time the guy isn't really. He thinks he's enjoying sex, but he's not. Or, you know what, he may not even think he is. He thinks the reason that he's not is because it's boring. But the reason he's not is because the same reason that she's not really, which is because we're not supposed to enjoy sex the exact same amount with the same person forever and ever in the same way, the same day. You can't repeat that. They're two people. This is like the same podcast I had about vacation sex, the people who try to make vacation sex into usual sex. It used to be, and you could go back to my podcast on why guys now don't understand that drive drops after the honeymoon stage. It used to be that men being bored with having sex with their wives was just a given. That was just shit that you had to deal with if you're a married man. Everything gets boring. You can either cheat or you don't cheat. Many more people used to cheat according to the statistics. And that was that. Of course, you weren't going to blame your wife for it. You weren't going to treat your wife like a whore and bring in like a crazy shit in bed. That just was not a thing that most men of previous generations did. Now, with the ubiquity of online porn and this whole amateur thing and all of that, people think that they could turn their wife into a porn star, that would optimize their life. It wouldn't. They would get very used to that very quick. None of these optimization guys would actually get along long term with the sort of woman that was trying to create a business out of fucking you, which is what the amateur porn people actually do, right? And point being, the whole ubiquity and constancy of porn in the man's natural environment makes him artificially fluffed up. You can go back to everything that I've ever written about porn, and makes him think that his wife is supposed to be constantly, being entertaining in a way that men in previous generations never thought, that their wife was supposed to be. And of course, Viagra and Cialis and all this makes it that men can perform far longer than they were ever able to perform. So people used to age at the same pretty much time. And if guys kept on having sex drive after that, either, oh, well, we accept that we're not having that much sex anymore, or they would go to a prostitute or to a mistress or some such thing. This is no longer how we do anything. I've talked about this a million different ways. Infidelity, porn, the HRT, the testosterone clinics. Let's not even forget about that. Men with a testosterone level of an 18-year-old married to the same woman for 30 years. Jesus Christ, talk about a horror story. I mean, that is real nightmare level stuff for women. The idea that you're with this same guy, but now he's acting and trying to have sex with you like he's 18. No thanks. Nobody's going to be wanting that. And it's really destroying marriages. This idea that the woman is supposed to be endlessly acting like a woman 20 years younger that just met you. So the way to be happy with the sex life you have is to be happy with the sex life you have. Is to say, this is great that we're having sex. Now, if you're not having any sex, you have a sexless, touchless marriage, get into therapy. I've said that a million zillion times. But I'm talking about the guys that are having sex like once a week, and it's fine, and it's nice, and they love each other, and their life is nice, and they're obsessed with porn, with the idea of a better, more active, more involved, more novel, more, exciting sex life. That's not what marriage is for. You picked getting married, and that does not mean that you're going to be having sex like a porn star all the time. Now, are there nice times for couples around different times of the month, around when the kids are out of the house, when they're on vacation? Sure. But every time being like as though you're getting paid for having sex for an audience, this is not reasonable and it's not realistic. And that's what a lot of these guys mean by optimizing their sex life. The other thing they mean is like this huge push for the woman to get on HRT. If your wife wants to get on HRT, fine. I'm sure you've already sent her a million articles about it. But nothing is a panacea. Many women in my practice get on HRT and there's no change. It's easier, it's less painful for them to have sex maybe, but they do not have these massive upticks. Now, some women do, but I'll tell you something. Women that want to get on a bunch of testosterone and, they're going to have researched that shit themselves. And if they didn't research it themselves, you've already showed them because you're an optimization guy. And kind of coercing them and bullying them into it is not the way to go. Just like it isn't for any other aspect of life. So if you're thinking that's how you're going to hack your wife's sex drive, it's just like... It's not reasonable to say to somebody, you have to be on these hormones or else I'm going to be sulking and annoyed with you all the time. You've already made your case. And I'll tell you something else that you're not going to like is many women go on these and they do not have anything near the change that their husband is envisioning or fantasizing about. And let a woman go do something for her health for herself, right? If it comes from you, then she's always going to feel like you're, Dr. Frankenstein trying to hack her and make her into something that she's not. If you give the evidence, and I'm sure you have, and she says either that's not for me, or I've talked about it with my doctor and I'll consider it, or I'll talk about it with my doctor and I don't think it's for me, or I'll try it. No matter what, it shouldn't be that you love her more or less based on that. And if she thinks that it is, then your sex life's going to be bad no matter what, right? No matter what she does to her blood work or her hormones or her vagina or anything else. All right. I hope you like this straight talk. I'm sure some of you didn't love it, but it's really useful. And it's the stuff that you would hear if somebody, was being real with you. And I'm the person who's being real with you right now. And if you're getting a lot of other ideas in your head about the ability to make somebody into the perfect sexual partner, you cannot make anybody into anything. You would hate if your wife was trying to make you into somebody else, especially the type of guys I'm talking to. And when you're trying to do that to her in the sexual sphere, she knows it, she hates it, and she withdraws. And again, if you are having a truly, disconnected, distant, loveless, touchless, sexless marriage, reach out for therapy. But, if you are obsessed with optimizing your sex life, reach out for individual therapy instead of couples, which is for the first case. All right, I'll talk to everybody soon. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.